Welcome to Penneo. Our pleasure to introduce Nikolaj Høyer Nielsen, interim CEO and co-founder of the company. Nikolaj, I think you can take it from here and give a small introduction to your company, and then we will dig into some of your numbers and ask you some questions.
Great. And just stop me when you need to, because of course, as a co-founder, I can talk forever about this company. Are you changing the slides, or should I?
You can change them yourself.
Okay, then I do that. So my name is Nikolaj. I'm one of the 6 co-founders of Penneo, and I'm interim CEO. We have just hired a new CEO, Scandinavia, who will start no later than October 1st. Until then, I'm the temp worker handling the business. I'll not talk too much about the technology as such, but of course we have a quite advanced platform underneath, but I try to see it more from a customer and investor perspective. So what do? We digitalize processes for business to business. So you can say normally, then you as consumer would not know about Penneo because we are B2B software. But that's actually one of the reasons why I think we have a very interesting case, is that you know of us because our customers are actually marketing our software. So our main customers are auditing and accounting businesses. Basically they're the one who are spearheading our growth. So that will be all the big accounting companies that you know of, but also the long tail of small ones. So out of the 2,000 customers we're having, auditors and accountants are a big part of that. We help them, and most of you will know our software because if you're a business owner, you have received a link to signing with Penneo, the digital signing platform where we started. But we are doing much more than that. You can say we're also helping our customers with the documentation for know your customer regulation and anti-money laundering, and basically optimizing the process and paperwork from all the way from being a customer at an accountant until you're sending in the annual report. And I'll just talk a little bit about these network effects, because you can say any B2B has or can achieve, if they have a good product, relatively low churn, because it's very hard to switch software if you're a business-to-business customer, right? Let's be honest. But I think we have this extra layer, that is that all customers are actually marketing our software towards you. So for instance, in Denmark, where we have the majority of auditors and accountants using our system, that actually means that every month or every day, they send thousands of Penneo documents out to you. Meaning that we get this extra wave of customers from our accountants' customers. And that's basically one of the ways we are fueling our growth. We have done that in Denmark, where we started. We've more or less been bootstrapped until we were on the stock exchange last year. And in the process before that, we grew to Norway and Sweden. And since then, we have got new customers in Belgium, Finland, and Germany. If you go to next slide. So don't worry, I'll not talk about the underlying metrics. I'll more talk about why I think that we can achieve that growth also in the future. In my view, I'm a relatively simple guy. I see 2 types of hockey sticks. There's a hockey sticks about the future, where you dream, and there's a hockey stick about the history, what you actually done. And I would like to point out that this hockey stick you see here to the left is what we've actually done. So we have managed to grow our company basically from nothing until 41 million DKK in ARR growth here by end of Q1. And one of the reasons why we have, one of the ways we have done that is not only by getting new customers in, but also by being able to constantly grow our existing customers. So when some of analysts are asking us, oh, you have a net retention rate of 120%. Is that only due to Corona? No, we can honestly say that is not due to Corona, because we've seen that for the last 5 or 6 years, they've been able to do that. So every customer group we have acquired from each year, we have managed to grow year to year. And I will also highlight that until basically end of 19, we had very little cash. We had a few investors, including myself, putting money in, but we have never grown that by having venture capital. So if some analysts asking us, are you able to become profitable in the future? We can say yes, because we've already been. Basically, before we went on the stock exchange, we were having positive EBITDA. So how we're growing also in the future, we just released our Q1 result where we show 52% ARR growth, and that is due to low churn. We have 3% churn, which we're very proud of. And not only that, the 97% who stays as customers, we're able to uplift year after year. And that's typically a result of they starting, many of them are big customers, they're starting in a small corner, and then they're using us more and more. And of course, we're also having new customers coming in here in the plus 30% year on year. So basically,
I will stop you. We will be the hard judges, and actually, I think we come a little bit more into the numbers. So
cool, yes.
So I will leave it over to Kasper again, and then very soon we will return to you, Nikolai, and ask you some questions.
Sure.
Yes. So thank you. So Nikolai, you started it up here telling about the ARR growth in the last quarter here, 52%, very low churn rate of 3%, and a high uplift of 23%. So now you have a total ARR of 40.9 million. So you are also, in terms of the ARR, one of the biggest companies on First North, and also on your, of course, your market capitalization. So if we look at the valuation, Penneo is traded to 30 times ARR, and so the market rewards that you are really performing well. So consistently very low churn rates of 3 to 4% over the past years, and high growth rates where you actually are increasing your growth recently. And also, of course, the uplift is very, very valuable, or that you, as you also said before, you will grow your customers with more users and add-ons and so on. So, well, it is actually above the line if you look at the relationship between ARR growth and valuation, the valuation multiple. However, we think, we don't think that, but we see that it's a sign that the market rewards that you are performing well over a long history, you can say, and also on your expectations where you expect 46 to 59% ARR growth here in the whole year for 21 after 2 upgrades since you IPO'd last year. So well, this is how the market looks on your or how the market is valuing your company. And if we look at the end 21 multiple, it's 21.7. So again, it will decrease if you of course increase your ARR as you expect to do by the end of 21. So after then I'll look just very shortly on your assessment. And here, as we told us, I said earlier, the key SaaS metrics is or are the most important part here to assess the company. And here you are scoring green, and you're very high on this factor, and also on the market growth and the total addressable market. Maybe we can turn back to the scalability and technology level. Of course, technology level is not what really drives your company and valuation. However, we can also discuss the scalability, because when you land your customers, you go into new countries, you have to kind of customize your solution to each country. However, when you are in the country, then you can really upsell and kind of attract many new customers. So the scalability comes later in your business model, you can say, but however, it is still over the power of the sector. So now, Nikolai, I will turn into the questions where you can give your view on this, maybe these parameters, but also your view on this. Maybe you are not agreeing with us, but however, let's start. How can Penneo grow more than the market and at the same time retain existing customers as you did historical? And additionally, also can you elaborate on the historical upselling and your future opportunities?
Okay, that's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
How can we grow? I think the short version is the network effects. I think that proves itself that it's of course hard to measure. You can do a little bit with digital marketing, but you can see a lot of our customers are customers who are coming in because they've already met us as consumers or business owners, and that's really a big part of us. That's it. Upselling, you can say, until recently we had sort of one product. We basically were talking about the signing and the flows related to that. We then acquired a company last year called CLA because we want to go into the Know Your Customer business, which we think has at least the same potential as the other one. And we announced a deal with KPMG Norway last week. We didn't disclose deal sum, but you can of course imagine that when we have to announce that, it's of a decent size, meaning that now we are seeing new products coming in. So at least historically, we have this upsell of plus 20%, and we have that year on year. Now we have a complete new product. And remember, we have 2,000 customers that basically, most of them are having this need. So we think that we can continue upselling and growing our businesses, both by the existing business, they have digitalizing more and more processes, but also by taking in more products like the Know Your Customer, which is a big hassle for many of our customers.
Thank you. So let's turn to the next question. In which geographical markets are customers now, and how scalable is your solution in terms of being able to onboard customers all over the world?
Yes. Our main customer base is in Scandinavia. We perceive Denmark, Norway, and Sweden as a home market because these were the markets we went into before we had any cash. You can go until basically 1 year ago. Tomorrow, it's 1 year ago since we got IPO'd. We didn't have a lot of cash, but we still managed to grow in Scandinavia. Now we're going outside Scandinavia. We think the potential is big in Western Europe. We would not be looking into all over the world in the next 2 or 3 years, if you can say. And there's no need for that. You can say our business right now is basically built out of Scandinavia. Scandinavia is 4 or 5% of Europe. If we just be successful in 2 or 3 of the big markets in Europe, we can grow our business tenfold. So no, we're not a business that are going into 50 markets. And actually, some of these companies who do that, they retract afterwards because it's typically not very profitable to be a small player in 100 markets in the world. Just ask the telcos in Denmark, who basically 10 years ago or 20 years ago all tried to become global, and then they went back. So yes, we can go into markets. Yes, we will tailor our software a little bit with but it's basically API integrations. And of course, there's cost related to that. But again, take Germany, right? 4 times the size of Scandinavia. If we're successful there, we have a huge business.
Cool. Let's move on to technology. So why exactly is your SaaS platform competitive and better than your competitors, focusing on your technology?
I see this as a little bit broader perspective. Every time a new market becomes big, when you have to serve all, it's hard to serve specific groups really well. That's why you have ERP systems like SAP, but that's also why you have ERP system for specific business. That's why you have TV stations like CNN, and you have TV stations that are that. That's why you have Toyota and you have Porsche. Sorry for this analogy, but I think that's what we're doing. We're basically taking some needs for some regulated industries, and there's actually a question here, why we're targeting auditors and not law firms. We actually see our niche as these regulated industries. And for these regulated industries, they, sorry to say, have other needs than Mr. Web Agency with 5 employees. Mr. Web Agency with 5 employees don't really care too much about compliance and stuff like that and know your customer. But Mr. Law Firm with 200 employees cares a lot about that, a lot. So I think why we're better is because we tailor ourselves to the needs of some industries, or you could call verticals. And I think that's our road to success.
Cool. Thank you. So going to the market, how big, mature, and competitive? I know it's many questions again, but how do you assess the market, and what about the growth rates going forward?
Well, the good question is, are the markets saturated? We honestly don't believe so, neither in Scandinavia or Southern Europe. I think there's sort of 2 things. What you see in Scandinavia is that because we were the front runners with digital identities, a lot of things have been there, but that then brings new products like Know Your Customer, because when you don't meet your auditor or your lawyer, you need to identify the ones, and that we're doing Know Your Customer. In Southern Europe, it's a little bit different. That basically all the flows are still on paper. So I think Central Europe and Southern Europe is basically like Scandinavia were 5 years ago. But we still see massive growth in Scandinavia. You can see that the majority of the growth you're seeing the last quarters are coming out of Scandinavia. And we see that having a detailed signature is a commodity, but that's not what we're selling. We're selling these compliant workflows and know your customer workflows. And there we see massive growth because a lot of things I'm asked every single month, because I'm an investor in various industries. I'm asked every single month by lawyers saying, could you please send a copy of your passport and driver license by email, right? That just shows that there's so much room for growth still.
Thank you. And then to the final question, why invest in Penneo relative to other SaaS companies?
I think that, again, I'll come back to my first point about selling a dream or selling facts. We are basically not guiding more about 2021. We're just saying we think we can maintain a high growth rate. That's why we have guided around the 50% growth. And when we say that, that is because we have shown that in the past. And now we actually have money to spend in both sales, marketing, and product development, which we didn't have 2 years ago when we still grew. So I think that's basically that we have a model and a team that works. And we think that also works in the future.
Perfect. And I think maybe you jumped the gun a little bit. You didn't answer why you don't move into lawyers.
We also have a lot of lawyers, a lot of also big Danish law firms are customers. I think the auditors were a little bit more first movers in this. We target lawyers. I see a lot of law firms as customers. And again, to put in a broader perspective, we see these regulated industries as a key. And in that regulated industries, it's both auditors, accounting firms, it's law firms, and it's also the financial sector that are getting more and more important for us, you could say.
But you're still very focused on the auditing side to spread out your network effect.
Yeah, because that's basically the way for us to spread it. Because basically the reason why most of you knew about Penneo before was because that you have signed with Penneo from your auditor. Yeah, that's a way into getting new customers in a new market.
And you also maybe returning a little bit to we didn't score very high in global scalability. You need to get into a new country. Looking into what you do, and the total addressable market, is it also why it's not saturated? Because every country needs to be good at getting. It needs our NemID. It needs a digital signature before you can actually move in with your kind of a product type. I know you can do other. Document signing, but the really secure ones and the one, is that kind of why you see it's not saturated?
It basically what happened in Denmark 7, 8, or Sweden and Norway 7, 8 years ago is now happening in Central Europe. And it's not only about having the electronic ID, that also has to be rules and frameworks to follow. For instance, it's not a long time ago since you couldn't buy a house in Denmark with a digital signature because there was an old law saying that you should have a pen and paper, right? So this is now going on in Southern Europe. And of course, there we can use our expertise. So when we talked in Central Europe to customers and we say, do you have other auditors as your clients? And we can basically take out the Rolodex and show that we have it all. So basically, that's about this expertise coming in. Because either you want to be DocuSign and do everything for everyone, or you want to be someone who's doing this in verticalization, as you say. And that's our game, and we think that market is really big, even in Europe. And of course, I'm not saying we're not going out of Europe, but I'm just saying why move to the other side of the world when you have market opportunities that are at least 10, 20 times bigger than what you see now in Scandinavia, just south of the border.
And alluding a little bit on Germany, I know you just touched the German border, but what started there, and what I hear, it's on par with Africa almost of their digital infrastructure. Are you getting a lot of attention there? Are you getting a really big need? Do you understand? Bit, really asking for something.
I'm not only talking about, when I'm referring to south of the border, I'm not only talking to Germany, I basically talk to the big Central European countries. And yes, we start targeting them, and we see this as a long play where we will start getting the first lighthouse customers or whatever. But of course, it's basically like when you started in Denmark 8 years ago. If you remember all the frustration regarding NemID and that was bad and whatever, and now, can you imagine if we remove NemID in Denmark, how everything will just collapse? And you can say it's the same thing going on now in Central Europe, where both the governments and the businesses are seeing the benefits of these digital ID solutions, and they will come, but they will not, and they are actually already in process. And a lot of things have happened over the last 12 months due to Corona, because yes, some of the big Central European countries were not that digitalized, but many of them have basically been forced to go up to another tier here during the last year.
Perfect, Nikolai. I'm glad you didn't ask us how we signed here in H. Andersen as at Exit Line. We will be joining, the next company will be Risk Intelligence. Thank you to you, Nikolai, for joining in. And in 5 minutes time, we will look at Risk Intelligence. Bye.
Thank you.